Toxic people don't get away with everything because they're lucky. They get away with everything because they know how to use the system against itself. You've been there before. Your toxic coworker fails, refuses to take accountability, and you're the one who suffers the consequences. I'm a criminologist and I've studied more than 4,000 toxic workplaces, and I can tell you this, it's by design. There are 5 mechanisms that make toxic people untouchable at work. But once you know what they are, you will know how to protect yourself within that system and even how to turn it against them. The first mechanism is probably the most frustrating. Toxic people blame shift. They refuse any accountability when something goes sideways. Of course, when things go right, they're right there snatching credit for the work they did not do as quickly as possible. This happens to my clients all the time. Just the other day, I was speaking to someone whose coworker made a mistake on a very high-profile project, and that mistake set the timeline back by a month and added hundreds of thousands of dollars in costs. Heads were gonna roll, so her toxic coworker immediately pointed the finger at her. But it's not just your toxic coworker who's gonna dump blame on you. And I'm about to tell you the reason why your boss does it too and why it's completely intentional. Back in my corporate days, I saw the most obvious instance of this. There was one employee, let's call him Tom, who everyone knew was generally incompetent, but he had high confidence because of course he did. One day he did something that he absolutely should not have done to a client, and they immediately asked to cancel their 6-figure contract with the company. That was a problem. But did Tom get in trouble for it? No, because the head of the department loved Tom. It was one of those weird favoritism situations where Gary, who was like 15 years older, was obsessed with Tom. He wanted to be just like him, wanted to be his friend, and he worshipped the ground that Tom walked on. I have never seen someone idolize a person 6 levels below them on the corporate ladder this much. Needless to say, the writing was on the wall. There would be no consequences for Tom. But Tom still made sure of it. He immediately threw his manager under the bus, made up excuses about how she told him to, even though we all knew she would never. But it handed Gary someone to punish. Gary put all accountability on Tom's manager, and she was out the door not too long after, which she deserved anyway, but what a way to go. Now, I've always been a high accountability person, but at this company, I constantly coach people to not be externally accountable. Take your share of the blame quietly in your head, and absolutely do not offer to take an ounce of blame outside of it. Because in a low accountability work environment, you are going to get blamed. And if you're willing to hold any piece of the bag, you're stuck holding all of it, especially when you serve as a scapegoat for the toxic person that they refuse to fire. Which brings us to the second mechanism, because it's come up already, and the level of protection that it provides to toxic people is almost unmatched. It is not a coincidence that your toxic coworker is also your boss's favorite. Toxic people know that they can get unearned protection when they have the right people on their side, so they charm up and destroy down. Like Tom. Tom understood the power map and was extremely intentional about how he was perceived by the people that made decisions and the people that had influence over them. Tom was the perfect employee in Gary's opinion because Tom played the part. We're all players upon a stage, and toxic people know how to put the performance on for the right audience. For your boss, their boss, and other people with influence, the character that your toxic coworker plays is smart, talented, and full of potential. And they know the easiest way to charm their target audience. Pander to them. They flatter. They play the part perfectly to become the character that they are rooting for. Tom stole credit, sucked up, and was poised in Gary's presence. He was the cool guy in high school that Gary was desperate to be friends with. And just like the cool guy in high school, he let Gary believe that they were friends because there was something in it for him, corporate immunity. But that character on the stage is not who they are, because when they're not performing, they're awful. They don't do their jobs, they create chaos, and they put the burden on you. They know that they can make you pick up their slack and still get credit for the work while you toil away thanklessly. When they establish themselves as the favorite, they know a powerful cognitive bias takes over. The big bosses will ignore and explain away all feelings because they have a positive perception of them.
Tom's so smart, he would never do that.
Of course, toxic people didn't invent this bias. but they're by far the best at exploiting it. And it helps that leadership has no day-to-day visibility in what your toxic coworker actually does. They don't see them slacking off, dumping work on you, or making avoidable mistakes thanks to their incompetence. Even when they do see them wandering around the office yapping, they don't see it as slacking. They're collaborating, which is actually what matters most when it comes to performance ratings. Your actual work has the smallest impact on your career success, and your toxic coworker figured that out way before you did. So what if their performance metrics are lagging? They know that the higher ups will invent metrics to rationalize promoting them anyway. And in the off chance that the boss is confronted with the toxic person's incompetence, cognitive dissonance comes in. This is how their favorite ends up owning the narrative. And it activates the third mechanism that stops toxic people from being fired. It's also the reason why you feel helpless when they target you. But once you understand this mechanism, it is not going to work on you anymore. Have you ever been in the situation where your toxic coworker made some passive-aggressive comment about you in a meeting and you froze? In that moment, you only had two options. Call them out and they gaslight you that it was just a joke and you're overreacting. Or say nothing and don't cause a scene. The thing is, when you do that, you quietly shrink at the same time. No matter which reaction you choose, you're afraid that they're gonna make you look bad. And either way, by making a scene and pretending that you instigated it, or by watching you shut down while they undermine you or take credit for your work, they win. Even when someone else in the room clocked it, they don't say anything because they don't want the toxic person to turn on them too. Toxic people weaponize fear, and it's not just against you. Let's be clear. Almost everyone around you knows that that person is toxic AF. Your manager, HR, your peers, most people are not dumb. They see it. But this is why they don't do anything. They're afraid. Your boss is afraid of their own incompetence. They know how to manage rule followers like you who do what they say, but toxic people ignore them, defy them, and expose their inability to do their job. So they manage the person that they can, the person they aren't afraid of, you. This happened recently to my client, Cheryl. She was working with a very toxic person, Matt, who was terrorizing her and all of her coworkers, but her manager had no clue how to deal with Matt. Now, even if they did try, it didn't work, so they gave up. So everyone else had to adapt. Matt was the one running the show, but it wasn't just management. HR held up that company line because they were afraid to do the right thing. And almost every one of Cheryl's coworkers was too afraid to speak up and demand something be done because Matt knew how to weaponize fear effectively, and he built the strategic relationships that we talked about to make himself untouchable. Now, of course, toxic people don't just make themselves socially dangerous. I've seen situations like this play out thousands of times. Like with Tom, everyone knew that Tom was the big boss's favorite, and everyone knew that if they got on his bad side, he would use that position against them, just like how he did with his manager. In any event, the people around the toxic person run the math, and they determine that the cost of letting them run wild is less than the cost of confronting them. And it is not just your manager who lets them run wild. HR is out there protecting employees that the executives tell them to protect. One of the fastest rises that I saw in HR in my corporate days was the pick-me HR business partner who despised other women. She retaliated against a woman at the company who reported the rampant harassment and discrimination they were experiencing and made a spectacle of protecting the CEO's favorite. But he picked her, so I guess she won. She didn't just get promoted for not firing toxic people. She got promoted multiple times for protecting them while everyone else paid the price.
But Jennifer, there's laws against retaliation.
Yeah, okay, there's speed laws too, but I bet that you drive over the speed limit from time to time. Research has proven that whistleblowers in corporations face retaliation as the norm, not the exception. So the toxic person gets to run amok and everyone around them suffers until inaction against them becomes a bigger problem. You're the safer target. Now, of course, your company will never admit that. Instead, they're going to use the fourth mechanism to convince you that the toxic person isn't the problem. You are. And you'll believe them until you understand how this mechanism works. When your manager or HR is refusing to do anything about the toxic person, they rely on one tactic to get you to drop the rope, stop complaining, and even to take the blame yourself. They normalize the toxic behavior because if it's normal, they don't need to do anything about it. The way that they do this is almost invisible. And the most common way that I see it done in a toxic work environment is to make you think that you're overreacting. When you call out your toxic coworker's passive-aggressive comment, you can't take a joke. When you report that sexist comment, you're being too sensitive. When you speak up when they take credit for your work, you're not being a team player. If any of this has happened to you, drop "I've been there" in the comments. Now, if you have been, you've experienced exactly how toxic people's behavior is excused and defended at work. One of my clients dealt with someone at work who was constantly making demeaning comments about women and making comments about, how do I put this in a way that isn't going to get this video censored? How he imagined their interactions in his private time, which gross. When she complained about it to her boss, his response was,
"He doesn't mean it like that."
Now, I would love to know what they thought "I would love to take you home and" meant, because there was really only one way that I would interpret it. Now, no matter what is said, your boss, HR, and your coworkers rationalize the toxic person's behavior. They're like an informal army of toxic people protectors. Now, one of the most common excuses is performance. I cannot count the number of stories that I have heard of workplace deviance being excused because it was coming from a top performer.
What are we supposed to do? Fire him?
Money makes you immune to the consequences in late-stage capitalism, which is exactly why, but the revenue is the most dangerous sentence that you're going to hear at work. But the most sinister way that toxic behavior is normalized is by attacking you. The issue isn't your racist, sexist, difficult coworker, it's you. You're difficult to work with. You can't handle the pressure. It's how things work and you need to learn how to deal with it. Remember Cheryl? This is what Cheryl's boss did. Since her boss was useless and unable to deal with Matt, he put it on Cheryl to figure out how to work with Matt. And by figure it out, what he really meant was shut up and tolerate it. The thing is, when toxic behavior like Matt's goes unchecked, it's enabled, and then it gets worse. Because once a toxic person gets away with the one thing, it's the new normal. Like when your toxic coworker got away with that passive-aggressive comment about you. When there were no consequences to be found, they learned that they could get away with it. So they do it again, but then they take it up a notch the next time to see how far they can push it. Eventually, over time, like a frog in a boiling pot of water, their behavior becomes overtly toxic, but at that point, nobody cares because they moved their line of acceptability inch by inch until you had no spot to stand on. At this point, no accountability is needed because it's expected behavior. But the system doesn't just set this new norm. It doesn't just refuse to hold toxic people accountable. It does something that guarantees that the toxic workplace system will get stronger every day and there will never be accountability for it. 1 in 5 corporate executives meets the clinical criteria for psychopathy, and that is not an accident. Because at every level across an organization, the system does not just tolerate toxic people, it rewards them. Because sociopathic traits have been rebranded in corporate as excellent leadership skills. Decisiveness, toughness, risk tolerance, these are all rewarded in corporate America. I mean, we have CEOs out there announcing massive layoffs and the market is applauding and snatching up their stock for it. Across all levels, people who have been given power are the people who would throw their own mother under a bus if it would benefit them. They don't trust anyone because they can't be trusted. The only people that they can relate to and have any shred of trust in at work are people that are just like them. And since toxic behavior is elevated, the toxicity amplifies. There's no need to pretend that you're a good human when you get rewarded for being a bad one. I spent almost 10 years in tech, most of it in leadership roles, and I have seen firsthand how the toxic workplace system and the office politics within it get more intense the higher up you rise. It's why I never wanted to grow beyond the VP level. It just was not a game that I was interested in playing. The thing that makes me angriest though, is that the toxic workplace system lies about who it is. It pretends to be a meritocracy, boasting about open door policies and pretending to be a family. But all it does is exploit the people that refuse to exploit others. There is no reward for fixing toxicity in corporate America. the reward is for producing more of it. The system isn't broken, it's working, just not for you. Which, hearing myself say that, I get how it can come across as really dire and hopeless, but there is something that you can do about it. No, you can't fix the system alone. You've probably tried, and it's about as effective as banging your head against a wall to cure a headache. But you can become a toxic system defector and make yourself a hostile target inside of it. And it starts with one simple move that you can take immediately today, and it will make a massive difference. See the system clearly, not just in general, but with precision about your specific situation. After analyzing those 4,000 toxic workplaces, I identified 6 vectors of workplace toxicity, and I created the toxic job diagnostic from this so that I could help you measure yours. It is the only tool on the market that will tell you if your job is toxic, how toxic it is, and what to do about it based on this level of analysis. Best of all, you can take the toxic job diagnostic for free right now and get complete clarity on where you're at. The toxic workplace system is not going to stop rewarding toxic people instead of punishing them. It is going to continue to punish you instead until you position yourself as a hostile target. This is how you become untouchable, even within the toxic workplace system. When you do this, you limit the damage it can do to you. You become the person that toxic people leave alone, and you become unbothered even when you're stuck in that toxic job. Now, I want to highlight, becoming a hostile target is not about becoming a toxic person. It's about making yourself too expensive to mess with. And I break down exactly how to do that in this video. So go watch it next. I'll see you there.